Good evening. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes? Is that a yes? I know some people have a difficulty with masks on. I have difficulty hearing anyway. But Larry, turn that up just a little bit, would you please? Just a tad, see how that works. Test? A little better. Yeah, okay, good. Welcome to the August 3rd meeting, and just so that everyone knows that we do sanitize this room before the meeting and after the meeting. We purchased 3 misters, and one goes through this room and it completely kills any virus before and after the meeting. It was done tonight. So, okay? You can feel comfortable, keep your 6 feet, and we'll do the best that we can. We have a public hearing tonight for a subdivision. And Matt, if you would read the public notice, please.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held at 2800 Church Road, North Tonawanda, New York, 14120 on Monday, August 3rd at 6:30 p.m. on the proposal by DJC Land, Inc. to subdivide a 53-acre parcel of land located between Shawnee Road and the Town Line Road, north of Susaric Road, SBL number 149.03-1-2.1, into a 73-lot single-family residential subdivision, Wheatfield Crossing. Anyone interested may attend and be heard.
Thank you, Matt. First, I'm going to turn it over to our engineer just to give a little bit of background of what by the way, our planning board chairman is here, Walt Garrow, and his deputy or his assistant, Susan Everwine, is also here, and our town engineer. But if you would just give in brief, Tim, what brought us here today and what the planning board has done.
Sure. Hi, everybody.
Everybody here, Tim?
Can you hear me all right? I can sneak my mask up if I need to, but I'll try to talk loud. This subdivision was first brought to the planning board in the fall of 2018. It's a 73-lot subdivision, and it's located on a piece of land that was historically farmed. It's just north of Slazaric Road, and it runs all the way from Shawnee to Town Line Road. Pardon me. It's not a straight road, but it's kind of a curvilinear road that goes through it. So the subdivision was first reviewed by the planning board in the fall, and in the spring of 2019, the planning board suggested, and the town board followed, that the town start a coordinated review under seeker for the project. So in the spring, actually the early winter of 2019, there was a coordinated review that was done. That's when it gets information on the project gets sent to all permitting agencies and a bunch of interested agencies. So that review was done early in 2019. After that review, there was some additional information that was required, being a traffic assessment, a drainage study, and downstream capacity analysis on the sewer. So the applicant basically spent a lot of 2019 completing those studies and having them reviewed. Most recently, the Niagara County Sewer District was the last one to give them approval. So with that approval, they came back to the town board and completed the seeker process. At the last board meeting, the town board acted and issued a negative declaration under seeker. And just prior to that, the planning board made a full recommendation in favor of the subdivision, that it met all town codes required by the zoning. So where we are here tonight is a public hearing that is required to take place prior to the town board being able to approve what's called the preliminary plat. And that's what you see on the screen right there. The preliminary plat is basically the layout of the subdivision. It lists dimensions and square footages of the lots, setbacks. So this is what the planning board has been concentrating on, making sure that they meet the current zoning code that's required. So that brings us here tonight.
So to my understanding, the planning board, and Walt is here and you're here, it does comply with setbacks and all of the regulations in our subdivision regulations?
It does, yes.
Okay. And I also understand that there was an issue with sewer capacity, and the developer is going to upgrade our pump station?
That's right. There are 2 sewer systems. The local system where the site is drains by gravity to a pump station, a town system, and that gets pumped to a line that goes to the Niagara County Sewer District system. So the portion that drains to the pump station, the applicant did an analysis on that as part of their downstream capacity analysis and found out that when they do reach the full build out of this subdivision, that they're going to have to upgrade the pumps in that pump station. The gravity lines and the force main lines are still big enough. They're just going to need to upsize the power of the pumps to be able to handle the extra flow.
Thank you, Tim. If anyone has any comments, please come up to the microphone, and when you're done, we'll sanitize the microphone and wipe it down. One of the constables will. And if you would, try and keep your presentation to 3 minutes, and we'll give you an opportunity at the end if you have any comments other than something that we've already discussed. So with that, anyone that would like to comment, please raise their hand and come forth.
Would you like the applicant's engineer to say anything about the project? Or?
Oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely, he's here. Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem. All right. My name's Ken Zouch. I'm with the engineering firm GPI here tonight on behalf of the applicant. The developer is also present in case there's any specific questions or concerns that they can answer.
Everybody hear him? Yes? Okay, just raise it up a little bit, please. There you go.
All right,
Thank you.
no problem. As everyone stated, this is a residential single-family detached development. It's 73 lots located on 52 acres with street connections to Town Line Road and Shawnee Road. So we have connections on both. The initial phase will be coming from Town Line Road. That will be, the first phase of construction would be intended to come from there because that's ultimately where the drainage and gravity sewers flow to Town Line Road. The entire site is, the town engineer has stated, has been essentially thoroughly reviewed over the course of the last year. In going through that seeker process, we've looked at traffic, we've looked at drainage. We had extensive downstream sewer capacity analysis where we actually went out and had to monitor sewer capacity in the pipes at, I want to say 5 locations, both within the town and the county districts. In going through that, there were some deficiencies identified with the current pump station, which we understand we would be responsible for helping alleviate. All that being said, anything downstream from the pump station, there are no issues with capacity. There's no problem. It has more than enough. The pipes are properly sized to take the additional flow from this subdivision. In the area, the water pressures are not an issue either. We'll have dual feeds, one from Town Line, one from Shawnee, so we'll be creating ultimately a loop system that connects to both those roads, so there should be no concern over water pressures. That already has been modeled as part of our work. As we went through the planning board stage to get us here to preliminary plat, we've done full engineering of the entire site. Still needs to be reviewed by the town engineer as well as Niagara County Health Department for conformance. But we have gone through all of our reporting. We've produced an engineer's report that details out all the systems that are within the development and making sure that we're properly handling the drainage and getting those into. We have 2 significantly sized stormwater ponds that will take the flow and will actually cut down the amount of runoff that's coming from this property towards the adjacent properties in Town Line Road. We'll be intercepting that and holding it longer within our ponds to ultimately reduce the amount of drainage that's coming off this site as it currently stands today. And that's, I mean, it's pretty much a development. You know, of course, we're here to answer any questions or concerns the board or any residents have.
Okay.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
One, so you might be able to upgrade the sewer system when you reach full capacity. You're doing that when you reach that capacity or at the beginning?
I don't think that's been determined in terms of the exact stage of when we'll be doing it. I'm sure it'll be sometime between the initial, but before full capacity. I don't know if there's been any firm discussions on the changes to the pump station. It's only the pump station itself, the pumps themselves are what were identified.
Randy, as part of the final plat review and design, which would be next, that's where we pick through the engineering report in detail, and we'll have a couple scenarios checked. You know, like I believe it's a 2-phase subdivision, so we'll have those phase lines outlined on the final plans, and they'll run an analysis with just the phase 1 there. If the pumps are still good with phase 1 in there, then they wouldn't need to upgrade that station until they're ready to do phase 2. If they can't handle it as part of the phase 1 upgrade, they're going to have to upgrade it as part of the initial PIPs and initial phase construction.
And my second question is, you say it's from the east
Well, yeah, in terms of phasing, all of the storm drainage and all the sanitary sewer naturally flow to the east. So we really can't start on the west side without putting all of the infrastructure in for the east side, just because everything's fed gravity. Uh, yeah, in terms of construction, I mean, that can also be something that we discuss as we move forward, where the construction entrance is located. But in terms of actual road construction and initial phase dedication, where the lots are gonna be, that has to be on the east side, just given the grade differential. I mean, it's about 15, 20 feet higher, I wanna say, towards Shawnee Road, and everything's flowing to the east towards town line. So we really can't start at that end, otherwise we'd be installing, thousands of feet of pipe.
I would like to see you move State Road to the Hall Road in there. You're gonna bound the road, and then the boundary leaves, 10 years from now, the road's shut, and we gotta fix the road.
Sure, it's something that we can certainly consider and discuss with the town engineer as we move forward on those details.
Anything else, Randy?
Yes, the developer is the builder. So the, Forbes Homes, who is present here, will be building on all of the lots, is my understanding. As a developer, they will ultimately be owning lots and then building the homes on them. I can't speak to that.
Well, we typically would utilize architectural approval versus say the square footage as the minimum in any one of our communities. And, but it would, in approximately starting at 1,800 square feet, and typically our homes, overall average around 2,000.
And just a reminder that no matter what they build in there, it still has to meet the town's minimum requirement under the zoning law, so that's also. Anybody else on the board here? Matt? Larry?
They're gonna look, so you got an entrance off of Shawnee and an entrance off of Town Line to the north, are those two stub roads?
Yes, we have provided potential future access towards the north, with two stub streets there. They'll have turnarounds on them for, any traffic that goes down that way or highway equipment that needs to turn around, that we will have turnarounds located there, and they'll be ending on our property. It's just planning for the future. But to be clear, there are no current plans for that property. The developer does not own that property to the north, so there's nothing that's intended there. It's just basically asked of us when we come in, where there's any larger vacant properties to the north. Most towns require us to provide some type of stub street so you can have those interconnections in case one day there is another, developer that wants to come in and build additional.
I can't tell, it's all black and white, but are there detention ponds or storage ponds included in this?
Yes, there will be two large wet ponds located towards the south end of the property, because that is the low end.
So the wet ponds will always have water in them?
Correct.
That's all I have.
Okay. If you do me a favor, would you walk over to this microphone in case residents have questions for you?
Yeah,
And
no
Aaron,
problem.
would you wipe the microphone off, please? Thank you. Stuff's pretty volatile, Aaron. You better be careful.
Smells great.
Okay, is there anybody who would like to comment or question the developer related to this subdivision? Again, the town planning board has reviewed it and spent a lot of time. Our engineers have looked it over, and the planning board has recommended it to us, and that's why we're here for a public hearing. Yes, sir. Come on up. State your name and your address, please.
Good evening. My name is Jim Benner. I live at 3654 Brandywine in the Briars subdevelopment, which is a couple miles down the road on Shawnee Boulevard. On behalf of the residents of the Briars, I came tonight to hear a little bit of what's happening with this development. Personally, I'm in favor of it because it just brings more economic and more value to the town, and I'm all for that. Everyone at the Briars just had one concern, and that's about the traffic, and I understand the study was done. The traffic on Shawnee Boulevard tends to be quite busy and quite fast on a everyday basis, especially during rush hour. People are starting to get a little bit concerned. There were some accidents over the last several years. A fatality did occur near this development. So I don't know the results of that study, but on behalf of the Briars and others in that community, I'd like to understand, you know, what that study results look like and what's the town going to do about it if there are more accidents, because I know it's a state road. I reached out to Jesse Gooch about it, and I don't get anywhere, so I'm here tonight.
Well, I can say this to you. You know, we deal with DOT quite often, and they felt that of course, New York State, it's a New York State highway, can handle the traffic, and it can. I mean, it's a large highway, and there is times when you have much more traffic. One of the options would be, especially when you start having intersections together, and that's something I'm going to touch on a little bit later, is to reduce the speed limit in that area. So that's typically what they do. It seems like sometimes signals create more accidents than they help, but a speed reduction is possible. So that's one of the things that I'm sure the planning board can look at, possibly reduce the speed from 55 to 45, which that's something else we'll touch on later too. But
I'm sure it's hard, it's a big ask, but some turning lanes into some of these developments, because as I turn into the Briars, making a left, coming from the boulevard, you know, you see cars that take the shoulder. They're not supposed to, but they do, and that mailbox gets wiped out more times than it should.
Sure.
I feel bad for the resident that lives there. And I just see this as a concern, so.
That's something they will consider for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Sir, anytime. Anyone else? Yes, sir. State your name and your address, please.
Name's Donald Pickleshare. I live at 6571 Shawnee Road, right next to it. And my biggest concern is with farming. You keep making these roads narrower and narrower. We can't get down them. And we can't do more than 10, 15 mile an hour. And you get all these people pissed off at you. And they're starting to do damage. These subdevelopments, the kids don't care nothing. Can't do nothing about three-wheelers, four-wheelers. I caught somebody's car because both of their bumpers got ripped off, and the sheriff said they can't do nothing. And for years I've been bitching about this with these subdivisions. But the other big thing is, you're putting a subdivision, and you say you can take care of the water. Town Line Road for 50 years. Now you start building on the end, every year, 150, 200 feet of that fills up with water, and that's taking it from coming off Shawnee Road, my farm, and everything. Now you put something there to block the water, it's going to force it back. And this is what pisses me off when you do these developments. They never ask a farmer. And every time we go to a meeting, agricultural, we want to keep you here. Well, I hope they come and you get your houses, and then you don't know what to do with them later. But if this place floods my farm out, I will take a lawyer and I will rip you all a new one. So until someone shows me what they're going to do with water, and a pond ain't the answer, I will build a 10-foot brim all the way around this place, and no one's going to stop me.
Have you attended any of the planning board meetings?
The what?
Any of the planning board meetings and reviews?
I was never told about them.
Okay. You know, maybe when this is over, at some time you want to sit down with our engineer and talk about what is the storm it's been designed for? As far as a 25-year storm, 50-year storm?
The state stormwater permit requires that you maybe 100-year storm.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've had the 100-year storms, and the people on Town Line bitched because we cleaned when the gas line came through. The ditches got cleaned out. There's an 8-foot drop. And I don't care what anyone says, water don't go uphill. And the same thing with this. Half that farm drains through my fields. Now, once you put concrete and blacktop, There's 27,000 gallons of water in an inch on an acre. That's got no place to go but to flow off. You put them into these retention ponds, they seep underneath, and 10, 15 acres of my ground is going to be worthless. And don't someone tell me, oh no, a pond won't do that. It does. I've had it down at Spice Creek, and I got ground in there that used to be the best ground in the county. You can't farm it because every swale is full of water, because some engineer says, oh, water runs that way, but you're lower than what we are now. Well, you bring dip dirt in and fill it up. So that's the big part. I mean, you can have all the town, but what happens to all the ground down towards the boulevard that hasn't been built? Get them built first before you come this way. I'm not against selling ground, but if you want us to farm, and we're having a tough time as it is with the weather and the kids, but this is going to cause a problem on Town Line Road with water, and I don't care what you say. You've got to prove something different, because it's been that way for 50 years. And you've got to get Pendleton to open up the creek. And they won't do it, because they don't want Wheatfield's water. But you got Shawnee Road, Suzarzik Road water, part of Town Line, probably 300 acres of water coming in there and no place to go. You helped it a little bit when you put those culverts under the road, but you put too small a culvert. You know, so that's my biggest concern is the water, because it's going to affect me and the people and the kids. So
Right,
that's
Mr.
where I'm
Fickles here,
at.
we'll, if you would, if you don't mind calling my office, and we can make arrangements so that you can sit with the planning board and maybe our engineer, and he can tell you what they've done more specifically.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Julie.
I have just a couple questions. I'm wondering what the developer anticipates for the price tag on each of the houses. I know that there's a variance on square foot, but approximately what they're aiming for, if it's like 250, 300, 400, where they're at? Anybody?
They won't be 250 or 350. They may start in the mid to high 300s, but more so they're going to be in the 400s.
Okay. And the lot size, where will that fall out? I couldn't see the picture from where I was sitting, so.
Lot sizes are all per town code, and they're at least half an acre, as the smallest 20,000 square feet, but many of them on the north side are much larger, closer to 3/4 of an acre. Some are close to an acre in size.
So, okay, so here's my question, is I thought is this what we're talking about today, to basically say it doesn't have to be rural residential where it has to be 100-foot frontage? Do you know what I'm talking about, Randy? Isn't it rural residential in that area? Right. So that's what I'm saying. So is this to say that this is going to be,
Yeah.
oh, they are,
They're-
okay.
they're
I thought it had to be
Yeah,
an acre.
the smallest
Okay.
lots on the plan are 100 wide up front by 200 deep, so
Oh, okay.
20,000 square feet.
Okay. And then my next comment, actually to underscore the man from the Briars, is that top of the hill, if that's, I'm not sure exactly where that's coming out, that's a really rough spot. I mean, it's blind both sides. And, you know, I really think that somehow you need to figure out if you can have two sides on Town Line, or buy a plot on Sloceric. That is a recipe for disaster. As the Mr. Jim from the Briars said, it is, people are flying through there, it's blind, and then in the winter, It is unbelievable. I mean, you cannot keep it clean there, number one. Number two, the state actually even comes in with a big payloader and cleans out the drifts. And no matter how much salt they put on it, it just seems to glaze there. So I really, really think, I understand you've done a lot of work, but as somebody that travels through there constantly, it is a hazard. And whether you put on a flashing light or something, I'm not trying to be a pain. I'm trying to warn you about something that could potentially be devastating, and that's not too far from where those kids were killed. And you know, it's just it's a tough spot. I don't know if if you want to engineer and dig it out so it's flat, but I don't know how many near misses there are with the Shawnee Country Barns too, that there's a lot of people pulling in and out of there, or they're like driving to like, where is that place? And then boom. So the entrance on Shawnee, or exit, whatever you're calling it, is really a significant concern and safety hazard. So I don't know if you can design around it or change it, but I think that there's going to be problems there. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Julie. Anyone else? Yes. Please state your name and your address.
You gotta clean the microphone.
Thank you, Aaron. Aaron, you missed the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Jessica Corum. I live at 6836 Shawnee Road. So I just wanted to echo some of the concerns that I heard from some of the previous speakers today regarding the traffic on Shawnee and families and safety. I came to the last meeting because I had concerns about families and safety. We know that there have been pedestrian fatalities on Shawnee Road, and as a Shawnee Road resident, I can also echo all the comments about thinking I'm going to get hit in the rear end as I try to turn left into my residence. I've only lived there for a little over, or almost a year now, but previously I lived in Cambria, so I was also one of the people that came flying up Shawnee Road. And now I experience it as a resident. So the placement of any egress on Shawnee Road, I think, really has to be considered. And in terms of families, these are all single-family homes. I imagine many of them will have children, will have grandchildren. Where are they going to go? Are they going to go up to the Dollar General to get some ice cream? My guess is yes, which means you have people going on Shawnee Road, walking up there. It's not that far of a walk. You know, honestly, in terms of distance, I'd be telling my own kids, go on, except for the traffic. So my concern, I know it's a state road. I've heard all the descriptions about why we can't get things done, how we can't get things done. But I'm also thinking that the state needs to be more responsive to our town's concerns about safety. They need to adhere to their own regulations and laws, like the Complete Streets Bill, which basically said that roads should not just be a thoroughfare for cars, but bikes and pedestrians. I don't want to see any more fatalities happen here in Wheatfield. I don't want it to become like a boulevard incident where it seems like they're dealing with a pedestrian concern every year or so. So with that, I'm a big proponent of at least some sort of sidewalk, bike path, some sort of designated area for people traveling, particularly on Shawnee, and within the development itself. I think these are things that should be considered. That's my concern primarily for Shawnee, but I guess my question is, are there any plan for sidewalks even in this road going through?
I don't believe there are at this time.
The town does not have sidewalks on the road part of the subdivision guidelines.
Well, I do have concerns about that. I believe the road should be for more than just cars. More than cars travel on roads. I don't want to walk on somebody's lawn, and I don't want to get hit by a car. So in that respect, I would definitely advocate for anything like honestly, I'm not as concerned within the subdivision as I am on the major thoroughfares, but I do believe it is something that should be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll move to close the public hearing. Is this related to this public hearing, Paul? Okay.
Paul Sigmund, Highway Superintendent, Town of Wheatfield, and I would just like to reiterate what Randy said about this construction entrance from Shawnee Road. I understand you have to put some infrastructure, but that's basically road base. You don't have to put the sewer lines and the water lines and all that in. When they're building a subdivision and they destroy our other roads in the process, that just adds more to my costs, and we have a hard time getting all our roads paved the way we want to as it is. My other question is on these stub roads. I want to make sure that the turnarounds are big enough. We've had issues with other subdivisions where they ended up putting a driveway at the turnaround. Well, now we're turning around the guy's driveway, and he's not happy. The last thing is, and I don't know, I talked to Tim about it, but I'm not sure if it ever got fully discussed, is the lots along Town Line Road. Are they to be piped? And if they are to be piped, is that going to be part of the developer's thing? I know open ditches are better, they have more water holding, but if they are to be left open, I want that on these people's deeds, that these lots have to be left open and not piped. Because, 2 years after they get their house built, they'll be calling me to pipe it in. And I'm the bad guy that got to explain to them that they're not allowed to.
Right, yeah, we do not have plans to pipe the ditches at this time.
Well, I'm sure you don't have plans, but then I want it on their deed so the owner that buys that property knows that they are not to be culverted. They have to remain open. I don't want to just, you're just going to do the driveways. Well, sure, that's easy for you guys just to do driveways, and I got to come back and finish the job. It's either you pipe it when you put the house in, or it goes on their deed that says there's a restriction. You can only have a driveway pipe. The rest has to remain open.
Paul, is your concern about putting the pipe in or the capacity of the ditch in new pipe?
Both.
I mean, can it be sized accordingly to, and if someone buys a piece of property and want to fill in their ditch, which most people do, can't they size it accordingly so that it can be covered?
Well, that's okay. If they want to do that, if it has the capacity for it, then I want it done as part of the subdivision.
Oh, okay. I think that's something the planning board can address with the developer, that the roads on, or the ditches on Shawnee Road be culverted in accordance with town specifications and town law to make sure they're adequate, Tim. Because I know I wouldn't want an open ditch in my front yard.
No, and I understand that, but like
Yeah.
I said, if they're supposed to stay open, then I
Yeah,
want it on their
okay.
deed that they're supposed to stay open. If they're supposed to be piped, then I want it part of the development that they pipe it.
Okay, I don't think that's a problem.
And I do agree with Mr. Frickelshire. I'm trying to get that ditch cleaned across on Town Line Road, but Pendleton don't want our water any more than we want it.
All right, Paul, thank you. A motion to close the public hearing? Yes, Walt?
Just for Paul's benefit, one of the items that he mentioned involved the heat and driveways on the heat.
Yes.
In our prior meeting, we talked that, and we specifically excluded that possibility. Any driveway near the heat cannot involve the heat.
Okay. Thank you, Walt.
I have one question. Has this gone through DOT yet?
Yes.
You think it's coming back?
It's gone to them, they haven't responded back. If we go through final design, then wait for a response from them.
We'll ultimately need to get a confirmation from their design department in reviewing the entrance. Right now, it's probably only gone through kind of notification, but they will ultimately have to approve our curb cut onto Shawnee Road, and the design conditions associated with that. So they will be reviewing this and commenting on the design. And we certainly welcome, I'm sure the developer would be more than interested in seeing that speed limit lowered. I mean, obviously, with a new community and neighbors coming in, we want it to be safe as well.
Thank
I know coming from the north, they have a sign, something about the Blind Hill. I don't know what it reads, but there's a sign there.
The hill blocks view. The hill blocks view.
Yeah, I just wondered if the DOT was even from off to the side or just send out their agreement with the computer. I was just curious if they had these signs. Okay.
Okay, we have another public hearing to go, so let's close this one out. A motion to adjourn this public hearing?
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Matt, if you would read the notice for the next public hearing, please.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held at 2800 Church Road, North Tonawanda, New York, 14120, on Monday, August 3rd, 2020, at 7 p.m. to consider authorizing improvements to the town of Wheatfield Water District, consisting of the replacement of water lines along a portion of Shawnee Road, and to consider if it is in the public interest to undertake the project at an estimated maximum cost of $910,000, and to hear all persons interested in the subject thereof. Anyone interested may attend and be heard.
You want to give a brief description, Matt, as to what this is about, just in brief?
Yes, town law requires, in the expansion of a water district, that there be a public hearing. With regard to that, this is, and I guess either Richie's here, I don't know, he was, I thought he was, or, yeah, Richie's back there, I mean, can explain the exact details of the improvements to the water line, but this is a statutorily required public hearing to determine if public has any opposition to this improvement. Going forward, as I said, it's required under the town law and general municipal law to have a public hearing for an expansion of a water district.
Any comments or questions? Okay, I think we're... Motion to close the public hearing related to the water line expansion on Shawnee Road. Miss, would you come down here, please? Aaron, I don't know if that was wiped off, was it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one brief question, just because I didn't get a lot of information prior to this now. Where exactly on Shawnee Road is it, and what does it, where is it going to be?
I can answer that, Don. The replacement is basically going to go from the southeast corner of where Forest Parkway hits Shawnee.
Okay,
The
down by
development
Bailey's?
by Maddie's, yeah.
Okay, okay.
So from there, it'll continue south to to the end of Old Shawnee Road
Okay,
and connect onto the existing
And
net.
that water line, just so you know, is at a point of total deterioration. You can ask Richie, it has to be replaced.
okay. I was
Okay,
just curious where
Okay.
exactly.
thank you. Anyone else? Motion to close the public hearing? A motion to second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll start a regular town board meeting by the Pledge of Allegiance. Bob, do we have anybody signed up to speak? All set? We're all set then? Okay, thank you. For the record, all the members are present with the exception of Kirk Doctor, who will not be here tonight. Can I have approval of the minutes of July 20th, please?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Minutes are approved. Bill payment of August 3rd, 2020. Voucher number 20201-263 through 20201-359 with a total amount of $124,826.24. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion with one exception, if we could short pay voucher 2020-1292. The vendor charged the sales tax,
Oh,
so
okay.
if we can pay this less the sales tax, and
Okay. So, you made the second, Larry, or
I made the motion. to
Okay,
not destroy-
second, please. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Department heads, Paul Siegman.
The only thing I have, you can hear me, right, is, we will be straightening town roads. It'll be starting after August 31st. So I ask, if you have straights in your road now, or your great road is freshly paved, please try not to park cars on it between 7 in the morning and 4:30 at night. We don't put out a law or anything like that, but if you got straights in your road, you wanna re-straight the right way, get your cars off the road. That's all I got.
Thank you, Paul.
I have a question for Paul. Sure. They're doing Wilmore Road. Are they putting new signals out there to town? It's all supposed to be new. We're still gonna be responsible for them? Okay. But yeah, I know that's not a pain for you, but, maintenance should go way down when you run new signals. I'm sure hoping so, 'cause that was not his last
Oh, I hope so.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul. Excuse me 1 second, I'm pulling my hearing aid off my mask. Sorry about that. With you in just a second, folks. Gotta plug back in there. Richie Donner.
No report.
Okay, thank you, Richie. Mike Rinaldi. How you doing tonight, Mike? Good.
I have a couple of things. Can you guys hear with this microphone? First thing, we had the pathway at Fairmount Park recently topped 2 inches of blacktop, all 6,200 feet of it. My guys are going around landscaping it now. We should be completed either at the end of this week or early next week. In terms of reopening Community Center, Youth Center, Community Center will open first. We're targeting early September, hopefully September 1st. I plan on sitting down with the supervisor and members of the town board to form a plan as to which groups will be allowed to use the space, and how we'll coordinate any type of activity that goes on in the building. In terms of the youth center, we're going to hold off on that probably until the last week in September, first week in October. And the reason being for that is we intend to piggyback off the state in the school district. Presently, the school district doesn't have a approved plan from the state. They submitted their plan, or are about to submit their plan, and they're waiting kind of for the results for that. So we kind of want to see how that's going to go before there's no sense of us forming our own plan without their direction. So we plan on just piggybacking off them and proceeding from there. And then the last thing, I have an agenda motion later on in the meeting. I was approached from a representative from Feed More, Western New York, and it's a food bank and Meals on Wheels kind of merged together into one organization. And what they do is provide meals for people in need. And their meals will not actually come into the building. They're proposing to use more or less our parking lot, where the food truck will actually deliver the food on site. They will deliver 12 ovens, 12 coolers of food. They will have 12 different volunteer drivers take one cooler, one oven, put it in their vehicle, and they will actually physically deliver the food to the people that are on their list. So no food will actually go in the center. One of their on-site representatives will be in the center, and they will just be coordinating their trips with their main office in Buffalo. So they approached us about possibly using the site, and I think it's something that could be a good idea. They are partners with the Niagara County Lunch Program, which already serves on-site meals in the community center. In the future, they said it's possible where they may just take over that program and do it 5 days a week, because right now they're only doing it 3 days a week. So it could be a good time to get kind of a partnership with this organization and provide food to families that need them. Other than that, I mean, I'll take questions too when you guys get to the motion, but just the background.
I have a comment for your department. First of all, the Recreation Department is already prepared to open up with the correct sanitizing equipment and misters. But again, we're being cautious about opening up to larger groups. So the community center, and Mike and I talked a little bit this morning, we're gonna get together again. There are a lot of smaller groups that meet, garden clubs, things like that, which could be handled well, especially if they're sanitized. But then there's also some larger groups, which we have to be careful with, and not to be prejudicial, but we have to be very careful. We don't want to see anybody get sick. And I want to say I did spend a day with the recreation department, working with them spreading dirt over at the park around the path. And my hat's off to the whole department. Every young man that I work with, other being terrified at me at first, was a pleasure to work with and hard workers.
Thank you.
They were great, and we did a lot in one day. And the only negative side, I could hardly get out of bed the next day. But I'm getting old, I guess. But I want to thank you. You have a great crew, hard-working group. You couldn't do any better, Mike, and I want to thank you. I also want to thank Paul while we're at it. The recreation department tractor broke down, and here we had the guy standing there, and Paul was able to get equipment over there in less than an hour, and we were back on the road and spreading dirt around the path. Now, if anybody's had a chance to look at the path, they did a great job, and it's a great. I walked it the other day, even after the rain. We have a couple little wet spots that were gone in about 20 minutes, but it's a big improvement for the town walking path, and I see a lot of people using it. So if you have the opportunity to walk the town path, it's really great. Once again, thanks, Mike. Mike Clark will be off this week. He had some minor sinus surgery. Our assessor, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. Constables.
I just let everybody know, I think you can hear me. I got one officer going to the full police academy. I got 2 officers going to the BMT academy, free of charge. So it's not costing the town a penny. It's all going to scholarships.
Okay.
Genesee County. And that's all I have.
Thank you. That's good to hear. Anyone from the seniors? Not yet, huh? Tim Zuber.
We have nothing.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Matt Brooks, motions, please.
Okay, I'll try to do this through the mask, and if I have to take it off, please excuse me, but we'll try it. First motion from grant writer and town clerk. Be it resolved by the town board of the town of Wheatfield that the retention and disposal schedule for the New York Local Government Records, LGS-1, pursuant to Article 57A of the Arts and Cultural Affairs Law, and containing legal minimum retention periods for local government records, is hereby adopted for use by all town officers in legally disposing of valueless records listed therein. Be it further resolved that in accordance with Article 57A, that only those records will be disposed of that are described in the retention and disposition schedule for New York Local Government Records, LGS-1, after they have met the minimum retention periods described therein, and only those records will be disposed of that do not have sufficient administrative, fiscal, legal, or historical value to merit retention beyond the established legal minimum periods.
Motion is...
On the question.
Yeah.
Our grants writer, we weren't paying her, I think $0 through COVID and
Right.
a lot of last year. I think the last maybe 5 or 6 months, she wasn't charged. Tonight there was a bill paid. I just saw it tonight for $3,000. It looked like $1,500 a month. I guess my question is: are we paying her by the month now, or are we paying her by the grant? I thought there was some discussion that said we may pay her by each individual grant.
Yeah, we never made that change, though.
So she just put herself back on the payroll, kinda?
Yeah. And if we want to negotiate for grant, we can do that with her. She's willing to do that also. But
Okay.
the original agreement was $1,500 a month.
Okay. Thank you. That answers me.
We had a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from the Recreation Department and Town Board, be it resolved to authorize the town supervisor, Don McSwan, to enter into an agreement with Feedmore Western New York, formerly the Food Bank and Meals on Wheels, to allow Feedmore Western New York to utilize a room in the Wheatfield Community Center and adjacent parking lot space to provide a meal delivery service for the needy for the Wheatfield area. Said agreement is subject to review by the town attorney and reciprocal certificates of insurance naming the other party as an additional insured.
So moved. Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from the town board, be it resolved that effective immediately, the town board of Wheatfield hereby establishes a new town policy during the COVID-19 pandemic, that if an employee voluntarily travels outside of New York State for non-employment related reasons and upon return to this state is subject to a COVID-19 quarantine period, due to said out-of-state travel, said employee shall not be paid for any time missed from town work unless the town board permission was obtained prior to said out-of-state travel.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and then we had a few supplemental motions. First from the budget director. Whereas the town of Wheatfield is seeking to refinance its 2011 serial bond issue due to reduced interest rates, and whereas on behalf of the town, Municipal Solutions, Inc. has reviewed 3 underwriting proposals for said refinance, and whereas Municipal Solutions, Inc. has issued an underwriting recommendation letter, a copy of which is attached, which recommends the town board select the Bank of New York Mellon for this transaction. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Wheatfield approves and selects the Bank of New York Mellon as the town's recommended underwriter for the refinancing of the 2011 serial bond issue based on the analysis and recommendations of Municipal Solutions, Inc., as Bank of New York Mellon submitted the proposal with the lowest proposed debt service, lowest fee to underwrite, and highest proposed savings to the town.
Before we vote on that, if we could, would you like to give a brief explanation, Ed, so we just have a little bit of
The original bond that was issued in 2011 was at 4%. Rates are very, very low right now, so it is recommended by our fiscal advisors that we refinance the current outstanding bonds, and we would save about $30,000 in each of the next 6 years for a total of about $180,000.
Great.
So it's a tremendous savings to the town if we pursue this refinancing process.
Great. Thank you, Ed. I don't think anybody would object to that.
No.
Thank you, Ed. Somebody want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and then we have a second supplemental motion from Town Board and the Adams Fire Company. Whereas the Town of Wheatfield has received a request from Adams Fire Company for the purchase and installation of an emergency signal control device at the intersection of Niagara Falls Boulevard and Nash Road, which Adams Fire Company believes will improve emergency response safety. And whereas a bid in the amount of $12,144 has been received from Highway Tech Signal Equipment Sales, Inc., which is the sole source supplier of the equipment and services needed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Wheatfield approves the placement of an emergency signal control device at the intersection of Niagara Falls Boulevard and Nash Road. And be it further resolved that the town of Wheatfield approves the quote of Highway Tech Signal Equipment Sales, Inc. in the amount of $12,144 for said equipment installation, and acknowledges said company as the sole source provider for the necessary equipment.
So moved. A motion and a second. All
I had a question. So, is this a purchase order through the town, or is Adams gonna spend the money and invoice the town, or who makes the final? I know we're gonna be making a payment, but is the town of Wheatfield writing a check to Adams, or is the town of Wheatfield writing a check to Highway Tech?
Scott, would you have any idea? I'm sure, I'm going to talk to Pete Chase tomorrow, so I'll find out. But one way or another, let's go through with the motion. I did talk with Pete.
Okay.
And also, we're going to set up a meeting with the fire chiefs, hopefully sometime next week, to discuss our budget. That's something we'll talk about it.
Okay, so Adams will be the project management of this
Right.
installation, so the town of Wheatfield Building Department or Highway, we don't have to oversee anything to make sure that it was done right.
They just want our money.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion and a second, I believe. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and then we have two additional late motions dealing with the water line replacement from our bond council. They're quite lengthy. I'll just read the introductions, and the rest will be as presented on the motions that I circulated via email. The first one is a resolution of the town board of the town of Wheatfield, Niagara County, New York, the town pursuant to section 202-B of the town law, determining that is in the public interest to undertake certain improvements to the town of Wheatfield Water District consisting of the replacement of water lines and related improvements along a portion of Shawnee Road.
For motion?
Yes.
I'll make the motion. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and the second is another late motion with regard to the bonding of this. It goes as follows. Bond resolution to the town board of the town of Wheatfield, Niagara County, New York, the town authorizing the issuance of up to $910,000 in serial bonds of the town to finance improvements to the town of Wheatfield Water District consisting of the replacement of water lines and related improvements along a portion of Shawnee Road.
So moved. Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And at this time, I don't have any further motions.
Thank you, Matt. Excuse me. Thank you, Matt. Board members, Larry Hellwig.
Couple of items, just to let the town board know, I know the departments, heard about it at the department head meeting this morning, but we're looking to get a grant to replace the town's 10 security cameras, with our grants writer, and she did inform me that there are grants available through the courts, which, the courts have court night in this room, and they've got people standing in the hallway. So the courts are gonna pay probably not all of the grant, but a good portion of it. So that'll be good. The town doesn't have to spend a lot of money. We need new cameras because the resolution, I know when Matt Brooks has to go to court to, show the judge that someone tried to sue the town because they tripped and fell on something that they really were trying to put a false claim in, but Matt and other departments need a little bit better security so that they can zoom in on some of these pictures and catch people trying to do bad stuff. So hopefully this will go through. They say the grant cycle is this fall, so we're getting estimates now. I know one of the main items is for Kathy Harrington and her deputy clerk is when we record the town board meetings. It's a rather laborious process to get them from these two cameras up into YouTube, posted to the website. It takes several hours to transfer the format that we get off this antiquated 15-year-old camera system into YouTube. So we're trying to get something that'll be a little bit modern technology, a little easier to do. That's it on the camera grants. And then I just wanted to make one more announcement. It's posted on the town website. Mike, thank you for posting that. We have free Wi-Fi in the south parking lots of the town hall and the community center. It was brought to us through NORA, which is the Niagara Orleans Regional Alliance, which is Niagara County and Orleans County. Dave Godfrey, one of our legislators, basically spearheaded this project. I think Microsoft actually paid for all this, and RTO was a technology company that did the installation. They did a really great job of installing. I don't think they were on site more than just a few hours. They mounted them on both buildings. It's a very secure, it's a Cisco product. The security, they told me these 13-year-old kids can't break it. So, and they're doing it all over the country and all over New York State. So this Meraki product that Cisco makes is very secure, and it was provided to us because of the COVID and the kids going to college, the kids going to school. A lot of people don't have high-speed internet in their houses. So if they want to sit in their parking lot and get fantastic speed, they're going to be able to do that and get their homework done. But I just wanted to make one last pitch on the Wi-Fi. And I said two things. I got three.
No, you've had your two.
I got one more. The census, talking to the census people, they were supposed to, by May, June timeframe, they were going to be going door to door. We got almost 80% participation. Niagara County is almost leading the state in participation with the census, the 2020 census. The town, our budget is made up of sales tax. Our sales tax from the county is all hingent on how many people we have. The more people we have, the bigger slice of the pie we get, right, Ed?
That's correct.
So, we're trying to push the census to, you know, we've had all the fire companies, I know Scott's in the audience, all the fire companies got these lighted billboards. Please support the census, they all supported it, put it on their billboards. Well, they're gonna be going door to door now that COVID's starting to wind down. I'm hearing the middle, so if the clerk's office, or if you start hearing rumblings that I had this person at my door, they need a peddler's permit or whatever, but they're gonna start going door to door to collect information that people didn't do electronically, and that's gonna be coming through the middle of August. When they do it, I don't know, but they're gonna be going door to door for people who haven't done it over the computer yet or over the internet. Thanks for letting me do 3 things, Don.
Okay. Okay, Gil Doucette. Okay. And Kurt is absent. Randy? Okay. We'll give you more if you need it, Randy. The only thing I have, I've already thanked the Recreation Department, the Highway Department for their help. And I want to say, and I mean this with all sincerity, we truly have fine department heads in the town of Wheatfield. I don't think another town can compare with what we have. Everyone is efficient, they're good with people, and they really get the job done. And we are really blessed to have the department heads that we have in this town of Wheatfield. We should all be very thankful. I had a call this afternoon from the DOT related to Ward Road and Niagara Falls Boulevard. And as you know, we have a conference call August 10th, I believe? Oh, August 6th at 10, excuse me. And Paul, you'll be there also, talking about what they're proposing on Niagara Falls Boulevard and Ward and also on Whitmer Road. In the meantime, we've submitted requests, as you know, in writing to at least get some turning lanes and things like at the Ward and the Boulevard. Well, the traffic got back to me today, and I spoke with one of their engineers, and their first name I can pronounce, it's Sanjet, last name I can't pronounce. But they are going to reduce the speed limit on Niagara Falls Boulevard permanently in this whole area, and they're going to put signage up indicating the intersection, and I was hoping to have it by this afternoon, but she said she'd put the proposal together for me, and I'll get it via email probably tomorrow now. But they are going to make some changes at this intersection to make it safer, because as anybody knows, it's probably one of the most dangerous intersections in the town of Wheatfield, that Nash and Whitmer. So that was good news. They're going to do something anyway, and hopefully done within the next couple of weeks. So I just want to share that with you. I can't give you the specifics because I haven't seen it yet, but I will have it hopefully tomorrow. But that's good news. And that's all I have. Our next meeting, let's see, next meeting is September 14th at 6:30 for a public hearing. What was that public hearing for again? Yeah, that's another thing. Can we do a bill pay at the call of the chair? Is that okay with you guys? Middle of the month, maybe just do a bill pay? Yeah, we'll have another meeting, which would just be a bill pay only at the call of the chair, and we'll pick a date, Randy. We can get our bills paid anyway. Okay? And any other public input? Oh, sorry. That's it, Kathy? Okay, great. Yes, Justin?
I'm going to do it to your microphone one more time. With regards to the retention and disposition schedule for the town of Wheatfield, I know all the department heads aren't here right now, so I'll send out an email too. But just in case, if any department or office comes across any historical or what you think might be a historical piece or a record that you think we might retain with my office, give me a call or an email so I can give you a second pair of eyes and look that over. Just in case. What has been accrued to this office over the last 3 years has been really very fantastic and valuable for many residents already and to the record overall. And as you can see on the town seal, we'll be approaching our bicentennial in a decade or so. And I hope to have a really great something to show everybody at that point. So that's just a simple reminder. Let me know as we throw some stuff out and make some more room. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Anyone else? I will make a motion to go into executive session, and Mike Rinaldi and our assessor, if you would stay available to come into executive session. Mike, I think we'll take you first, if that's okay, because it should be very quick. Kelly, is that okay? I'll make a motion to go into executive session. We have motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? We are going into executive session. Thank you for attending, folks.
I'll make a motion, we come out of executive session.